is welcome. My soul is welcome here. My soul is welcome here. Yes, it is. My soul is welcome here. My soul is welcome. No matter what color, what culture, sexual orientation, political or religious affiliation. One God, the many pairs, everybody's welcome here. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here.
I'm feeling it.
The souls that are welcome here are here.
Aren't you feeling it?
Yes, I'm feeling it. I think there's a song on about that. I'm feeling it. It'll come to me in a minute.
Okay.
All right. You never know. I might break out and say it, right in the middle of the announcements.
I think you should.
All right. We'll see.
right.
Carry on.
Well, the first thing we want to do, besides just being so happy to be here, is welcome all of you. And whether you are here for the first time, whether you are live streaming from a beach or in your PJs, we welcome you. We welcome you to this community spiritual life center, because this community is all about big love, about diversity and celebration. And we are so grateful that you're here to celebrate with us. And so we know if you're here for the first time or the 100th time, you're never here by accident. You are always here by
Divine appointment.
So thanks so much for showing up. And while you showed up, what we don't want you to show up with is a ringing cell phone. So silence them or turn them off, and that'll go a long way.
As we take this time to have that direct connection with the presence, removing any obstructions along the way, we reaffirm our purpose and mission for being, and that is to transform lives as we love, serve, and remember. We first of all remember who and what we really are. Unique, lovable expressions of the presence. And as we make that the activity of our awareness and how we see ourselves, our self-concept, then we know that the words that we speak, the thoughts that we have, the actions that we take are right in tune with that self-concept, our self-image of being the expressions of God. And as we go forth in our world, those that see us will be able to say, I see the presence that sent you. This is the truth of our being. And we come here simply to remind ourselves of that truth, and anything less than that, we release it, let it go, and let it go to the nothingness in which it has come, never to exist again. We simply let God be God in us, and we're grateful to be the vessels and the vehicles and the instruments of this presence to anchor a little bit more peace and love and all that is good and perfect in our life and in our world. And so it is, and so we let it be. Amen.
In last service, you missed a little bit of something that was sweet and tender. So Maxine Acevedo, if anybody knows our greeter, our 9 a.m. greeter, who used to be an 11 a.m. greeter, and she has been a greeter in this community since the very beginning. We figured that she has served over 900 services as a greeter. So she is on her way to Utah. She's moving. So send her your blessings, and then send her your call to come home and visit. So do that. If you know her, reach out. If you don't, just say a prayer for her amazing new adventure. And so one of our amazing adventures on this Wednesday is going to be a drum circle facilitated by none other than Dominic Garcia. And that program has a salad at 6. He starts at 7. If you want a little different groove and a little quieter vibe, Reverend Deborah Phillips facilitates a spiritual discussion in the chapel at 7 as well. So join us for that. And our prayer chaplains always offer a healing circle after the service. It's a great way to come have your soul soothed and your aura smoothed. So that healing circle happens each week. And then just to let you know that our prayer chaplains are beginning their recruiting season. So if you've ever had an inkling Stop in, there's an insert in your bulletin, stop into one of the 3 orientations. It's the time to have your answers questioned and your questions answered, both. So if you've ever had a nudge to pray, even if you think you're not qualified, because I went through that. When I first started coming, I sat in the back and I wept, and I thought, what do I have to give? But as soon as my cup started filling and I started putting into practice the spiritual tools that we learn here, I really changed. Things in my life changed drastically, and I felt it was time to give back. So if you're in that space, take a stop in, talk to a chaplain, or come to one of the orientations.
Yes, it's always good to get in tune with the prayer vibration.
Absolutely.
And speaking of vibrations of things to come, the last time Spiritual Life Center had its directory for the community was 2006. And so together with Life Touch, we are creating our 20th anniversary SLC directory. And it can be for you, it can be for your family, it can be for your business. You can even bring your pets, whatever pets you have, your fish, whatever you have, to be in the picture.
Your kids, even if they're out of college.
Yes. I thought you were making the kids the pets.
Even if they just walked in.
Okay. Anyway, we have some dates available of October 13th and 14th for scheduling for the photos for your session, and you can do that today online. Also, you have something else.
I wanted to say 3 words to you: kind, grateful, and simple. Does that resonate? Do you want more of that? Reverend Julie Interante is going to join us in August, see your insert, for her beautiful, simple class on how to slow your roll and step more fully into a kinder, gentler, simpler life. Don't miss it.
And speaking of upcoming activities, Paula Mandela is going to share a little bit about what's happening with Jan Garrett and J.D. Martin in their program.
I am. Actually, Jan and JD are going to share their very own selves because they created a little video just for us to describe the Heart of the Vision Quest that will be occurring on Saturday from 1 to 4 o'clock here in the sanctuary. We're going to create an indoor vision quest, and they're going to tell you just a little bit about it.
My name is J.D. Martin. This is Jan Garrett. We want to invite you to join us for our workshop, The Heart of the Vision Quest, on Saturday, August 26th from 1 to 4 p.m.
Please come and join us. I will say to begin that this 3-hour workshop that we're going to do is in no way trying to replace or replicate a real 12-day vision quest. But JD and I have done enough of these wilderness rites of passage that we're able to sort of distill some of the elements that we feel like is really at the heart of this visioning process. So in this workshop that we hope you all come to, we're going to do some threshold work to create a sacred space. We're going to do some soulful sharing in circle. We're going to have mirroring, which is really lovely, knowing that everyone and everything around us is alive and well and breathing and conscious, so that any information we need, any guidance, any support is always available to us. You're gonna love that. And then we're also gonna just drop deeply into the actual visioning process from the heart, from the deep intuition, just sort of circumventing the left side of the brain. It's really cool. You'll love it. It's fun. It's twinkly. It's playful, and you can't do it wrong.
I wanted to tell you that when I did my vision quest, how powerful it was for me. As a result of that work, I was able to do my album called Home Heart, something I've been putting off for quite a while. So we want you to join us just to see, maybe it'll make a little difference in your life too.
Right. Point being that you're going to probably be very inspired individually with this workshop, but it's not just about each of us having a nice little happy workshop-y experience. It really is also about sort of lighting that fire under us and encouraging us to bring our highest gifts and talents back into the world, because the world really needs that right now. So please come and join us.
Saturday, August 26th, from 1 to 4 p.m. in the afternoon.
Beautiful. See you guys.
See ya. See ya.
See ya.
All righty. You got anything more to add?
No, well, yes, you can sign up in the courtyard or online
Okay.
for that workshop. And then I just want to also let you know about one other wonderful event that is happening in August, and that will be on the 30th. It is part of our Wow Wednesday series, and this is our wild card, 5th Wednesday. We're having the phenomenal talent of Grammy award-winning Native American flautist Mary Youngblood and Michael Bayard, and they will present a program on the myths and magic of Mount Shasta. And it's going to be very wonderful, and not only will it be a audible journey, but also visually stunning as well, with a set that is created by our very own Mary Rupp. So that should be also a fantastic evening. So we'll see you at both events. Thank you.
Thank you, Paula.
Well, it's a summer. It's a summer. JD and Jan said it's going to maybe twinkle a little. We've had some badass summer. We've had some twinkle. We're going to have a lot of mysticism. Sounds like a good time.
There's a lot going on.
Yeah.
And more coming.
Yeah, absolutely. So by a show of hands, how many of you here have ever participated in Faith in Action in any way, shape, or form? Okay, so those of you that haven't, just want to let you know, every year in the fall, we do a small in-home group book study, and we do it community-wide. James does a message every week. We have beautiful artists that create an original piece of artwork each week that goes with the theme of the week. And it's a great way to deepen in community, to deepen your spiritual practice together. So sign-ups for home hosts and facilitators will begin next week online, and we take participant sign-ups coming a little bit later, I think in September. So keep that on your calendar. Wait.
And I hear some music in the background. So I'm supposed to be talking about what a wonderful world gala is going to be taking place on Friday, October the 20th. It feels so wonderful to see so many of us giving our time, giving our talent, and our treasure to make this annual gala fundraiser a great and amazing success. And we have sponsorships available on many different levels, neighborhood level, all the way to the global level, and all sponsorships include a variety of gratitude perks. This year, every gala sponsor gets the added bonus of ad space in our 20th anniversary directory.
Hey, James.
I think I hear...
James.
Yes?
I think I hear an early bird song coming on.
I think you're right. I think you're right. Here it comes.
If I were a gala sponsor, all day long, it's a wonderful world. If I were a gala sponsor, I'd love, serve, and remember. Lord, I love the Buddhist and Baha'i, Mother Earth, and above the big blue sky. Would it spoil the frankincense and myrrh if I were a gala sponsor?
All right. Well, that's one way to let you know that if you sign up on a community level or above today or online by Wednesday, you'll get to be part of a dinner I'm going to be hosting at somewhere.
Yeah.
I think it's called Peter Kitchen. Peter Kitchen, yes. Has already picked it out for me.
That's if you act fast.
Act fast.
Today.
And you get to
fast.
hear some stories never told before.
And he has been sassier than usual.
So take a look in your bulletin. I think it'll give you some more information about that, how you can sign up.
And right now, we'd like to ask a few people to stand, our ambassadors and our prayer chaplains. Those ambassadors wear a rainbow ribbon, and if you need guidance to find people, places, and things, please see an ambassador. They're very warm and they're happy to help. Our chaplains wear those white stoles, and that's a symbol that they're here to hold us in sacred prayer, whether we have a challenge of life or a celebration of life. So they are here in the back of the sanctuary after service or across the breezeway at the chaplain table. And you can also ask them about their recruiting season too.
And if you're here for the very first time, in a moment, we're going to ask you to raise your hand because we really want you to know more about the opportunities that are available here at Spiritual Life Center to get connected with the community, and an opportunity to fill out a card that you can leave at the end of the service or in the courtyard when it's over, and leave it at the welcome table. And we're also going to give you a chalet, and we ask you to wear that to get that special Spiritual Life Center greeting and hug. And on the chalet, it says, "We believe we are spiritual beings having a human experience, and there are many paths to the one God." So any first-timers here today, if you just raise your hand. Anyone here around for the first time today? Yes, just raise your hand real loud. It's okay. We're gonna, they got to see you. And what we're going to do is give you a special gift. So just raise your hand and you'll get that special chalet and that special greeting from Spiritual Life Center. And there's a couple young ladies over there. I know you can give them a couple of those as well.
And what we want to do now is, as soon as they get their cards and their chalets, we want to greet them, and then we greet each other.
And
Let's
just
do that.
tell each other, "It's wonderful to see you today. You look marvelous. So glad you're here."
And we invite you to stay standing as we get into our group song. I'm thankful, so grateful. I am one in the spirit all around me. I'm thankful, so grateful, because I trust in God. Together. I'm thankful, so grateful. I am one in the spirit all around me. I'm thankful, so grateful. I trust in God. I'm thankful, so grateful. I am one. Oh, I'm thankful. Oh, so grateful. I trust in God. I surrender. I surrender. I am one. Oh, I surrender. I surrender. I trust in God. I surrender. Oh, I surrender. I am one. I surrender. I surrender. I trust in God. I'm thankful. I'm thankful. So grateful. So grateful. I am one. I'm thankful. So grateful. I trust in God. I'm thankful. So
invite you to read along together our vision statement. Spiritual Life Center is a loving, vibrant family that welcomes home all people and accepts everyone, no exceptions. Weaving ancient spiritual traditions with emerging wisdom, we cultivate a spiritual deepening with the divine, each other, and our planet. And we know God is here, God is now.
Together. God is here, God is love, God is all. God is the life within my heart. So I see and I hear and I know all is perfect and right in my world. God is here, God is love, God is all. God is the light within my heart. So I see and I feel and I know all is perfect and right in my world. God is here, God is love, God is all. God is alive within my heart. So I see and I feel and I know all is perfect and right. All is perfect and right. All is perfect and right in my
In just a few minutes, Reverend James will speak to us about the omni-active power of the universe. That force that is everywhere present, everywhere at work, and everywhere nourishing and loving and transforming us. If that force is everywhere, it is also inside each of us. So let's take these next few moments to reflect on the omni-active power of the universe in our own being. I invite you to lean back in your chairs, close your eyes if that feels appropriate, and breathe deeply. Let your shoulders fall and your hands relax. Take another deep breath. As you allow your breathing to settle into a normal rhythm, notice that you need do nothing at all to keep the flow of air moving in and out of your lungs. Your breath moves with the activity of the universe, keeping your cells nourished with oxygen. Can you feel your heartbeat? The omni-active power of the universe moving blood throughout your body. Notice your thoughts flowing in and out of your conscious awareness. A current of information and guidance and emotion. What is the source of this unending stream that delivers gifts of inspiration? consider your beloved community, your dear friends, your family, all of the loving souls in this room today. How did you arrive here among them, on this planet, at this time, and in this place? Is the activity of the universe moving you as it moves the stars and the planets through the cosmos? Finally, turn your attention to love. What makes love show up in our hearts and our lives? We can't control it or define it, but love flows through our days and gives meaning to our work, our relationships, our dreams. Is love the omni-active power of the universe? As we move now into silence, notice this power moving through your life as breath, as blood, as thought, as community, and as love. As we begin to return our awareness to this room, take a moment to get centered in your body. And when you feel ready, open your eyes. And as you continue with your day, notice all the ways the activity of the universe is alive in you.
Something greater has come alive inside of me. I have felt the Spirit stirring in my soul, deep in my soul. I will give love, I will speak peace, all because of the love that's got a hold of me. So wide open, so amazing, it takes my breath away when it occurs to me. In a world where so many feel lost, I know God. I am one, but not alone. When I'm with you, I am whole. Side by side, we find the truth. When the Spirit in me meets the same in you, I have felt this fire burning in my soul.
Thank you, Ann. Just keep doing it. I know God. We may not know every single aspect of what God is, but one thing is absolutely certain, that we know that God is good. And all the time. God is good. And that pretty much says it all. There's a philosopher from India. He's an author, maybe a social revolutionary, teacher, leader. Said something to the effect that you're never alone. And you're never helpless. Because the force that guides the stars guides you. That author is Sri Anandamurti. You know, this past week in our Badassery Class 101, we made up a new word. We were focusing how we can connect with this force, this presence that Anandamurti speaks of. You know, the author calls it the mother lode. I referred it to the omni-active power of the universe. It's called by so many different names. But one thing we know, that it is everywhere present in its entirety, at every point in space and time, but most importantly, right where we are. It's always for us. It's never, ever against us. And I think what our job is to really get in alignment with it so we can receive that support along the way. Before I knew anything about this kind of work and these principles that we teach, or had a name for this presence that we call God, before I understood at least some understanding of what it meant, I kind of touched this realm beyond words in a very dramatic way. This was a time that, I was totally unenlightened. Not to say I'm enlightened today, but I was totally unenlightened that time. And of course, I got this connection during a crisis that happened in the moment. And I had some interesting friends back then. And I was over to this friend's house, and I didn't really know what he did, but he seemed to be always doing well until I found out that he was a pharmacist. He was unlicensed, but he had great business. It was like happening 24 hours a day. People were coming up and knocking on his door all the time, and I think he was the precursor to the 24-hour pharmacy. I think they got the idea from him. And one night, someone knocked on the door while we were there, kind of just in a state of something. And they said, we have some watches we want to sell. I said, this is a very odd time to be selling watches, particularly in this neighborhood. So he opened up the door, and next thing I know, these guys were brandishing guns and shotguns and, robbing the guy, and took all of our jewelry and watches and stuff out of our wallets. And it wasn't a pretty sight, but I remember that around that time, something happened. I was so focused, everything around me just slowed down. It stopped. And everything I did and said was proper, and we got out okay. But something happened. There was an altered state that I'd gotten into. And I tapped into what I realized now was this dynamic still point, which I realized was that aspect of this omni-active presence that we call God, or the mother lode, or the presence. And I got this connection in this crisis. And from my perspective, everything stopped. My calculating mind ceased. I wasn't caught up in all the drama that was taking place at that time. I saw things from a wider purview, and we all acted appropriately. We sensed that we were always divinely protected, maintained, sustained by the presence in that moment. I think the challenge for us is if we're on this spiritual path, how we can stay connected to that something that is beyond words without the aid of crisis. And so we want to develop a strategy, a way of life where we're moment by moment courting with this force, this presence that is always within us, and allow it to run the show of our life. And as we were going over our work in our class Thursday, we realized that, it always begins with this fundamental practice of meditation, communing with the presence. And we started out with our own practice of mindfulness, or what the Buddhists call vipassana. It's a simple meditation. You just focus on the breath, but it's not always easy because our mind just goes in lots of different directions. The moment we think we got it down, then we realize it goes away from us really quickly. Somebody asked me, can writing be a form of meditation? I said, well, of course. Because meditation is nothing more than focused attention. Like when those folks came in that door that day, my attention was focused. No ifs, ands, buts about it. And when you're focused, you can hold more power. And like a wire, we can hold the intensity of much electricity, and our genius capacity is increased. I did a little research of some of the great minds in history, and they all had some form of a meditation practice, and they may have not even called it that. The great poet William Wordsworth used to sit beside the fire, and all he would do was gaze at the burning logs until he was mesmerized into a state of lucid imagination, and that produced insights for his writings. The artist Leonardo da Vinci looked at the cracks in the floor that were around him and the paint that was maybe splattered on the walls in the room that he was in to stimulate his imagination and to see the various items among these seemingly ordinary subjects. Beethoven used to take long walks through the woods with no other purpose than to experience universal awareness. Sir Isaac Newton used to gaze at the stars for hours on end and found himself entering a dreamlike state where many of his ideas began to take shape. And I think these are just a few of the techniques that we can use and have been used by great minds to tap into the mother lode, to tap into this universal presence where we receive unlimited information and ideas. And there are added benefits to it. It brings us to the moment. It relieves our stress. It allows us to hear that still small voice within us a little more clearly. It raises our vibration and frequency to be in tune with this power. So we realize that the meditation is the first and most important practice that we can engage in to tap into that mother lode. There was a monk that was doing a lecture, and we were all around him at that time, and people were wondering, what's the most important practice that we can engage in to enhance our spiritual growth? He said, meditate. And we were watching a video, the other night, and they had Deepak Chopra on there. And Oprah was interviewing him and asking about his meditative practice, and he said, well, he gets up every single day at 4 o'clock to meditate for 2 hours. And Oprah said, well, I ain't going to do that. It ain't happening here. But we can do it at least 5 minutes every day to connect with that presence. And so Jen reminds us of this tool as a starting point, a foundation, because if we do nothing else, all of the teachers say, this is where you start. But there's some other things that we can begin to tap into this mother lode, this presence, this omni-active power that we call God, is to realize that our minds are our servants. Our minds is the master that molds and shapes our reality. Wallace Wattles, who was a metaphysician, a spiritual teacher, and wrote many books, he said, to think what you want to think is to think the truth. That is what we really want in life, regardless of what the appearances are. He's reminding us it doesn't matter what the reality looks like right now on this spiritual work. If we really begin to tap into that vast, unlimited possibility, we can begin to shape what we don't even see. But we have to take action, and when we take action, it begins to show up. But this is what faith is all about. You know, sometimes people say, I wish I had more faith like so-and-so, but the reality is we all have all the faith we're ever going to have. The question is, where are we going to direct it? Where are we going to believe it to be? You know, he said, if you believe you can or believe you can't, you're right. You know, I was in Ghana many years ago. I was with a group of people from Unity, most of them from New York. I decided to hang out with them, and you know, one of the people in the hospital, one of the people that was taking us around, we were in a bus. He had a relative in the hospital. So we had an unexpected trip that we were going to take because he was going in that area. So we all got off the bus and went into the hospital, and we started talking to the person who was in charge there. And he said that he always had that vision that I found out later, I found this out, that he had the vision. He wanted to add, beds to the hospital. I don't know how many it was, another 20 or 20 beds, and he was holding that. He knew he was going to believe it was going to happen, and all the people there, and somebody in the group said, well, how much is it going to cost? And we're thinking it's going to cost tens of thousands of dollars. He said something like $1,000. And the people there said, well, we could take care of that right now. So we all got reached out, $20, $40, $50, and he had the money right there. And he transformed that hospital with that little bit of money. Even though it appeared he'd never be able to get it, simply because he was holding it in his mind and believed in what would appear not to be possible. I think when we have this belief that we have the ability to shape substance by holding our energy and our faith into what we want, even though we don't see it right now, that's what the spiritual work is all about. When we have this understanding, we have this insight, we don't judge ourselves because the outer world doesn't reflect upon our inner realization. We must not judge ourselves based upon what's going on in the outside, because oftentimes we judge basically upon what we see. But real faith is about believing what we don't see. There was a man who had come to me many years ago, and he was in dire straits. He had just been released from incarceration. He used to call it, the state-supported ashram. And he might be gone because he had burned down a house. It was his own house, but his ex-wife was in it. She got out alive. She was fine. There was nothing happened to anybody. But I guess he was upset about the breakup and all the things that he perceived she had done to him. And his only recourse in his mind was to burn down the house with her in it. So he had heard about these teachings, and somebody directed him to the community. And he came to see me on a regular basis, and I used to sit down with him, and he used to recount the experience over and over again. And he would just become so angry. And he'd become so angry that, he would turn red, which is probably not unusual, except that he was darker than I was. Just to give you an indication of how angry he would become as a result of this. But after a while, we came to an agreement. We connected with prayer. And at some point, somewhere along the line, he began to catch who he was spiritually. He began to feel his connection with that presence. He began to feel his connection with that mother lode. He began to feel his connection with that omni-active presence that we call God. And he felt that all his needs was met. And something shifted within him. Something different began to take place within his very being. And it took a number of years for the unfoldment to take place on the outside. Because the anger would still come and go from time to time. He had challenges of, trying to keep a job and having enough resources and money. But we knew as we stayed together that something within him had happened. And I remember one day he was standing outside the building, and there were some people around looking at him. He was somewhat disheveled and, kind of looking kind of strange, and they were saying how weird he was. But if they knew how far he had come along, they would have a whole different perspective on him. If they knew what had happened within him, they'd have a whole different appreciation of him. And then to move forward, eventually he had gotten his life together. He became a teacher and productive member of the society, became teacher of the year. He reclaimed his relationship with his children. And even he began to speak with his ex-wife. And that in and of itself was a miracle. That was like parting of the Red Sea, considering what he had done to her or tried to do. But the thing about it, he had that moment of clarity. And we would work for him to not judge him unrighteously because what we saw from the outer, because we didn't know what was happening within him. We do that to ourselves sometimes, and oftentimes we base our belief based upon what we see, and then we limit the blessings, we limit the realization, and that we somehow stop the good from coming through us because we're not seeing by our faith, but by our belief about what we're looking at. I think the moment that we have the audacity to believe in what is not yet seen, our reality begins to shift. But we must change our thinking, and then the evidence appears. There's an old statement that says, as within, so without, first in the spiritual, then in the outer world. And so this is another way we can tap into that mother lode, that omni-active presence that's waiting for us to shape it with our own belief. And we don't necessarily know how to make it happen. We just need to know the what. And if we have the belief, the how will begin to reveal itself along the way. Then another way that we can tap into this power is to know the power of the questions that we ask. That statement that says, ask and it shall be given unto you. Sometimes in the work, we're told to have our affirmations and to state those affirmations in the present tense. And sometimes they don't seem to be sticking. We might say, I am healthy. We might say, I am abundant. Or I am confident. And part of our mind says to us back, yeah, right. Are you looking at the facts of your life? There's nothing in alignment with that at all. And someone taught me about the idea that, well, maybe we want to bolster those affirmations by asking ourselves some questions. Because the mind works by always searching for the answers to the questions that we ask ourselves. And we always get answers at the level of the quality of the questions that we ask. So it'll search for the answer. So instead of just affirming, we want to ask ourselves empowering questions on top of that. We ask, why am I healthy? Why am I abundant? Why am I confident? And the mind will start looking for ways for it to actually come to fruition because that's the way the mind works. So we always want to search for the right kinds of questions. There was a time there was a 7-year-old named Adrian. And she came home, tearful and depressed, and because she went to her mom and asked, why does everybody hate me? And her mom, being a very wise person, said, well, maybe you might want to ask yourself a different question. She said to her, well, why don't you ask yourself, why am I so enchanting? And Adrian began to repeat that question to herself over and over again. When a little kid, when they take on to something, they just go all out. They don't question it. She just asks, why am I so enchanting? Why am I so enchanting? Why am I so enchanting? And she did it so much that one day she came home from school and she had a picture from one of her classmates. And the classmate had drawn a big heart on the photo. And it said underneath, I'm so glad that we are friends. Changed that whole way that she was being simply because she asked herself a different question and began to show up in a different way. And she was asked how long did it take for her to have that change. She said, well, it took about 1 week because she was doing it all day, every day. So we're reminded that ask and it shall be given unto you. Ask and it shall be given unto you. When we ask the right question, we begin to tap into that source, that mother lode, that omni-active power that we call God and love itself. And then the fourth way she reminds us to tap into this presence is that we want to surround ourselves with people who think the way we want to think and are where we want to be in our life. It's kind of challenging if we were simply hanging around nobody here like that, but if you're hanging around whiners and pessimists and people who are saying life is so unfair, the life unfairers, it's sometimes a struggle to keep ourselves positive in our mindset. So when those folks come around us, we don't judge them or anything. We just pray for their spiritual vision. But we say, I got somewhere to go. Got to go now. And one tool that we can do to really lift up the power of people around us is what they call the power of masterminds. We hear that statement, whenever two or more are gathered together in my name, there I am in the midst of you. When people come with the same high vibration, it lifts us up. So you want to have those kind of individuals around us. Napoleon Hill in his Master Key to Riches said, every mind needs a friendly contact with other minds for food of expansion and for growth. So one of the ways that we can stay positive in a seemingly negative world or not get pulled down by the distractive negative energy is to use the power of the mastermind. And we get together a small group of people. Somebody said that, we're probably the average of the 5 people that hang around us. As I mentioned, we don't want to be the one bringing down the average, so we need to keep raising ourselves from time to time. But we begin to ask ourselves empowering questions like, what's working? What's working in my life? What's working in your organization? What's working in your business? And how we can build upon that. I was looking at some of the news about the healthcare debate this week, and I just had in my mind, what if they began to look at it from a whole different perspective? This is probably an ideal thing, but I'm in the spiritual business, so I need to think positive, that things are possible. But they put everybody in a room, and they said, lock the door, don't let anybody out, and just contemplate on this question: what's working, and how can we build upon what's working? And if everybody focused on that, they would have the right answer if they would just break down the sense of separation. So I'm going to pray for the spiritual vision of our leadership that will get there. It can be done, but you have to have a belief to do it. What were you saying? And lock them up in a room. They can't come out. We'll give them a little food and water, but don't come out until it's done. But I think we can use those tools to tap into that omni-active power that's there. It's waiting for us. The universe is almost telling us, hey, I got all this for you. God is waiting. We are late. I'm sure it's probably saying, if it could speak, I got all this for you. What are you waiting for? So we begin to lowly listen to get all the debris out of our minds. We begin to ask the right kinds of questions. We begin to get around people who are masterminding the high possibilities of the Spirit. We do all of those things, and it lifts our vibration to tap into the high vibratory frequency of this presence. When we tap into this universal power, not only are we transformed, we begin to uplift everything and everyone around us. Our entire world is affected because we are the reflection of that world. So we're not here to try to convert other people to our way of being. We don't have to wake up early in the morning and knock on people's doors and say, I got this daily word, I got this affirmation card to try to change people's minds. What we want to do is tap into that presence, tap into that power. We tap into that mother lode, and we will begin to shine the light that we are before other men and women, and they will see the presence of God in us as we're saying, I know God. And what will happen? They will knock on our doors, and they'll say, what happened to you? We want to know. They'll follow you around. They want to know what's happening to you because they know there's something within them that recognizes that same thing is also in you. So they want to know what's happening in your life. She said, last year you were sick. This year you're well. You're walking around. What happened? Last year you had some disability or unemployment and you're smiling and you're doing so much better. What happened? We heard there was some tragedy in your life, in your family's life. but you're still standing better than ever. What happened? And when we tap into that omni-active power, a pure spirit, we get to glow with the presence of God. We don't have to convert anyone. All we need to do is tap into that presence and we'll glow, we'll radiate, we'll live our life. And the others around us, they'll drop their tools and follow you wherever you go. They'll be like little puppies trying to be like you because you are expressing the highest and best of who and what you are. And that is the power of tapping into the omni-active presence that we call God, the mother lode, the presence, the love, whatever we want to call it. We make it the activity of our life. And we will say, as Ann was singing, I know God. And so it is. And so we let it be. Amen. And as our musicians come back to lift our vibration with their musicality and their consciousness, I just invite you to take your love offering, your gift, symbolically raise it to the ever-expanding good we call heaven, and know that if you've given any other way, electronically or by mail, that you are in that flow of this unchanging principle that says when you give, it comes back to you, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. When we give, we support this community in their lives being transformed. We support this community to help others outside of the walls of this church to be uplifted as well with our tithing and our gifts. So with that awareness and that consciousness, let's say our offertory blessing. Divine love, as me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, and all that I circulate. Thank you, God.
There is just one presence, just one light, shining in our world like a beacon in the night. There is just one power we all can share, one great power everywhere. One great power, one great love, big as the ocean and the skies up above. One great spirit waiting in prayer. One great power everywhere. Yes, there's one great power everywhere. There is just one.
and great power everywhere. And so we bless the tithes, we bless the offers, the ushers for collecting it. We bless the people who have given it, knowing it is indeed going to support this community and our world as we go forth, multiplying the all good. And so it is, and so we let it be. Amen. And before we sing our peace song, we're going to have some of the youth are going to come forward. They got a message to share with us. So here they come. Come on down, as they like to say. You want the mic?
Sure.
Here you go.
All right, come on up, everybody. So we just wanted to share some of our jubilant July joy with y'all. We have been in the Divine Sea, experiencing the infinity of divinity in the sea this month. And we did some great things we just wanted to share with you as part of the World Relief Project that Spiritual Life Center did with making the kitchen kits for local refugees. We were able to paint I know I said I'd go faster. We were able to paint some mugs and be part of that project, which was great. July was also the month that our youth went to Unity Village, and Cameron and Michael were there, and that was a big blessing. And then so Cameron was there. He played guitar. He experienced the village. Yeah, so that was a great blessing. And thank you for all of you who helped make that happen, because it really takes a village to go to the village. So thank you. Yeah. Yay. So we have been doing our deep listening as part of our Sunday Children's Church, and we've been using sand this month, and we were able to run our fingers through the sand with no damage. It was good. We also have had creature teachers every week, and so we just wanted to share that really briefly. Our jellyfish, of course, teach us to be in the flow. Dolphins are all about the breath and playing and being in the now. And whales have so much to teach us about big love. The turtle is amazing, right? The turtle always reminds us that we're always home. No matter where we are, we're safe, protected, and at home. Yeah. And then today, if you couldn't guess by our fabulous artwork and creativity, we like to blend creativity and spirituality is what we're about every Sunday over there. And so does anybody know what our creature teacher is today? Of course, it's the narwhal. Narwhal or narwhal, yeah. And Liam made the world's longest horn there, although they can grow to 10 feet. So, yeah. And so then we've been making lots of art, and you can go see it today before you leave if you want to, before the sea of divinity goes down. And so thank you all for being here. We're going to sing with you, and hopefully you'll sing with us. This is a song we've been singing all month. Oh, also, yay, come play with us anytime. We can always use big helpers, big angels like you. So if you're called, please come play. And right now, just sing with us.
I am free. Thank you for that youthful energy. I could always use it. And with that, let us join in and sing our peace song. And now let us join in and say our prayer for protection.